Myrtle Beach is the beach. 60 miles of bright sand, water, and a wealth of wonderful music playing day and night. You can step into a simple beach bar and discover a surprising level of exciting musical talent. A place to kick back and groove to the enticing soundtrack of the most unexpected vacations around. With nothing but good vibes floating through the warm ocean air. Plan your own music-filled trip to America's Jukebox at visitmyrtlebeach.com.
This episode of the D-Lew podcast is brought to you by Goalie Nutrition. As someone who's used Goalie for quite some time, I can tell you that they're not only very good, but they're very beneficial. My favorite are the Super Green Gummies. The Super Green Gummies are uniquely crafted with a spectrum of essential nutrients such as vitamins A, B12, folic acid, and thiamine. It supports a healthy liver function, healthy nervous and immune system, digestive health, a boost to your metabolism, and overall health and well-being. There are no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors from artificial sources. They're vegan-friendly, gluten-free, and gelatin-free. All loyal listeners of the D-Lew podcast get a special 10% discount at checkout. Go to goalie.com, use promo code DLEW. That's goalie.com, use promo code DLEW. This podcast is a Believe Network and Siete production. Welcome to another edition of the D-Lew podcast brought to you by Believe Network. I'm your host, Derrick T. Lewis. Before I start this episode, I know last week I opened it on a more somber note, and it's crazy how life is. The day after, actually the day that the podcast aired on last Thursday, Triple H, WWE's chief content officer, had tweeted around maybe 5:30 in the afternoon or maybe 6 in the evening that Wyndham Rotunda, known to the world as Bray Wyatt, had passed away at age 36. Took my breath away immediately, and the whole wrestling world was hurting. Both wrestlers, talent, and fans alike. Bray was a unique character. He was very creative. He was an incredible storyteller, and he took you on a journey. He took you on a ride, every time he was on TV. And I happened to be at his return last October in Philadelphia at Extreme Rules. And, I was at Raw 30 in Philly where Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker had a really cool moment in the ring. So, God bless his family, JoJo, his Bray's 4 kids, Bray's dad, Mike Rotunda, and his brother Taylor, his sister Micah, of course his mom, and like I said, all the wrestlers that has either worked with him or knew him. My heart goes out to you. And but this past Friday, my record Espacion dropped. It's on multiple platforms. You can get it worldwide on, like I said, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal. You name it, and name the streaming app or name the streaming service, it's on there. But again, my single Espacion with Angie Stars is out there, and also I just want to make an announcement that the music video, the official music video for Espacion, will be premiering next Tuesday. That's right, September 5th. It will be out to the world to see. I'm so proud of this video, and I hope you all enjoy it. I really, really do. But this week, we're going to talk about this past weekend's AEW All In pay-per-view that took place in Wembley Stadium. Over 81,000 fans witnessed an historic event. And to go over this with me, once again joining me, is Gabi. So we're going to talk about the whole entire card. We're going to give you a little peek about what's happening this weekend at AEW's All Out pay-per-view that's taking place in Chicago. And let's not wait any longer. The AEW All In recap show with Gabi starts right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce once again on the D-Lu podcast, the one and only Gabi. Thank you very much for coming back. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me. I definitely appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I always told you, you always have an open invite, to the D-Lu podcast to talk a little bit of pro wrestling, a little bit of everything else. But, before we get into the all in, results that took place this past Sunday, we definitely have to talk about the huge loss. I mean, we had two huge losses this week in pro wrestling. I covered it very briefly in last week's episode in my open, losing Terry Funk because I was recording the open and closing on last Wednesday when Terry had passed away. But then a mere 24 hours later, we get the tweet from Triple H saying he had got a call from Mike Rotunda, Bray Wyatt's dad, that Bray Wyatt had passed away. And that I was like, that completely ruined my day, ruined my week, ruined my, you know what I mean? And it was like, damn, man, like, he was such a unique dude, and I'll have you chime in on what your thoughts and everything as far as Bray Wyatt passing away and like what he meant to you as as a wrestler, as a personality, and everything else. Go ahead.
I would say the most alarming and scary thing is that this man is literally my age and died of heart issues from COVID.
Yeah,
And I didn't even realize he was my age until I saw the screen and it said 1987. And I was like, oh my God, this man is my age and he passed away with heart issues. Like that is super scary. And like it makes you sit up in your chair
agreed.
when those things happen. Obviously,
Right.
he is a father. He has young children. He has JoJo. He has a family. It's very scary when you realize that people our age are passing away so young.
Yeah.
Like Terry Funk, when he passed away, that man was 79 years old. He lived a full life. Like you learn to grow and know that your heroes are going to pass away.
Yeah,
But when
eventually,
someone
right.
is 36 and they pass away, it's just it stops you dead in your tracks.
It does. And I mean, kudos to every wrestler in every promotion. I don't care if it's WWE, AEW, all over the independents, this weekend that, had, did some type of tribute to Bray. I know a couple guys on, on AEW did some tributes to him. Obviously over the weekend, WWE, a lot of they had their tribute on SmackDown, and they had a little tribute last on Raw this past Monday, and it's it's just a huge loss to the industry because Bray Wyatt, I was actually at Extreme Rules when he returned. I was
Oh my
there.
goodness.
I was there, and you want to talk about pandemonium. Like I've never experienced anything like that ever in any event that I ever went to for wrestling. And I was also at Raw 30 in Philly when he and Taker had that moment in the ring, with the whole LA Knight deal. And I said, well, damn, I got to be a part of two historic moments with Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? And he will be sorely missed. My heart goes out to Mike Rotunda, his dad, better known as IRS. His obviously Bray's mom, his brother Taylor, known as Bo Dallas, his sister Micah, who I would sometimes talk to online from time to time. JoJo, his 4 kids, man, it's just a tough situation. And for all the guys and girls that worked with him, you know what I mean? Going
Absolutely.
back to FCW, NXT, you name it. But the only, I think, silver lining is that, hey, he gets to be back with his grandfather, Blackjack Mulligan,
He
and his
gets
boy
reunited with Brody.
Brody Lee. That's the only silver lining I could think of. And it was the heartbreaking thing was seeing Eric Rowan there. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm glad they brought him in. I was
Yeah.
very happy when I turned on to Raw.
Right
I'm
next to
sorry,
Triple H. Right next
yeah,
to
when I
Triple
turned
H.
on to SmackDown and I saw him and Braun Strowman, I was like, okay, great. WWE did the right thing.
They did the right thing. And Tony Khan, and kudos to Tony Khan too. He's allowing anybody, because I think the funeral's tomorrow. And he's allowing anybody that wants to go to Bray Wyatt's funeral. He'll rewrite Dynamite around who's there and who's not there, for the simple fact of, a lot of people in that company, worked with Bray Wyatt or knew someone that did. So, kudos to him. And I know it's like I said, a huge blow to the industry. Actually, Booker T on his he was
Oh my gosh, that broke my heart.
oh man, he
You can
literally
see him
found
sitting there
yeah,
thinking and processing, and he's like, it's dead science, and he's like,
yeah,
Bray Wyatt died. Like that, it breaks your heart when you see
yeah,
again,
it
you see
does.
that.
Unbelievable, man. So like I said, rest in peace, Wyndham Rotunda. You'll definitely be missed by all of us for sure. But like I said, this past weekend, AEW put on their first stadium show,
Hmm.
in the grand scheme of things, All In, homage to the very first All In that took place 5 years ago. I can't believe that. 5 years ago was All In Chicago, the first,
The
large,
OG. Hmm.
yeah, independent show that it's incredible. You know what I mean? So it's amazing to see how far, like, ultimately it came down to this was going to be leading up to AEW forming, with Cody, the Bucks, Kenny, Hangman. But to see how fast this company has grown in 4 years is incredible. And, obviously when they announced it was going to be for Wembley, we've seen it. There was a lot of haters online talking about, oh, they're never going to sell out. They're probably going to do 30,000. And they kept moving the goalposts. Okay, they
Hmm.
sold out 30. Okay, they're not going to hit 45,000. They got 50,000. They're not going to crack 60. And then when it was when I follow this Twitter page, WrestleTix, on
Hmm.
Twitter. And when they were really showing the amount of tickets that were actually sold, we're not talking about comps or anything like that. We're talking about
100%. Hmm.
tickets sold. I'm like, this is huge, huge. So it was attendance of 81,035 fans that attended all elite wrestling's All In. Imagine that.
Insane.
Now, mind you,
Insane.
and Tony Khan had mentioned in the scrum that it was actually almost close to 90,000 when you count
The
everybody,
comps
the
and the
comps and everything.
staff.
Right,
Hmm.
exactly. So it was close to 90,000. So, congratulations to congrats are in order for sure. But, obviously,
Absolutely.
so to me, the only big storyline going into this event was the main event, which was MJF defending the championship against Adam Cole.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then obviously, because again, there were no matches really. Like there was really no matches of it. You know what I mean? There was no
There were no
matches
matches
announced.
made. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, it's Tuesday and we have All Out on Sunday, and I only know of like what, three or four matches, maybe five. Don't
Probably.
know what the main event's even gonna be. Like, and he has a really bad habit of doing that. He ultimately kind of pulls it off, but like I wish he would do a better job of like building and like not just announcing a card, but truly building the card. Give me the storyline. Give me
Right.
something. Instead
But
of
I
just
think
saying,
this is
hey,
right.
daddy ass versus, you know what I mean? Like give me the storyline.
Right.
Like give me the storyline.
Right. But also too, I think it goes back to the premise of what AEW is built off of. I mean, it is very indie, with a little bit of sports entertainment. So I
Hmm.
think in essence, you figure when you go to an independent show, yeah, you may know what a few matches are, but you may get a few surprises. So
When you sell out 90K, I don't know if I can call you indie anymore. I see where you're going, but like if
yeah,
you look at
right.
5 years in or 4 or 5 years in, you kind of you can't cut him that slack anymore.
Yeah, and again, I'm not calling AEW an indie company. I mean, no
No, no, I know
disrespect
it's
by
yeah,
that.
no,
Right,
for sure. I see what you're saying. When you go to indie shows, you only know what usually the main event is because usually they have some big star and then they build
right.
around that. I definitely understand the reference. However, I I'm not sure that I'm willing to cut AEW that slack 4 years in. Now, 2 years ago, I definitely would have given them the slack, but
Right.
you can't say they're competing with WWE and the impacts of the world and then cut them slack. So it's like either they're competing with the big dogs
Or
or
they're
they're
not.
not.
For sure, 100%. So let's start off with obviously was a 0 hour.
Hmm.
It was for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. It was Aussie Open. It was Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis defending against the AEW World Champion MJF and Adam Cole. Now, I kind of figured that this match, I honestly thought that it was going to end in like a count out or a DQ. I did not expect a title change.
I did. It only
Really?
adds to the storyline that moving forward with MJF and Adam Cole. So
But
I had a
honest, right.
feeling that they were going to draw. Now, I will say, I don't think they're going to have it very. I don't think they're going to have the titles very long. I think that ultimately they're probably going to end up defending against the Kingdom because you got to kind of find their way back to
Ring of Honor.
Kingdom for sure. But I just don't see MJF hanging out in Ring of Honor that long. Adam Cole, obviously, that's where he's from. Like,
Right, makes sense.
absolutely. But MJF doesn't strike me as someone who's going to wrestle multiple times a week already, much less with freaking no shade to Ring of Honor. Like, I respect Ring of Honor. I think any wrestling fan respects the history of Ring of Honor, but I just don't see MJF hanging out there very long.
Yeah, like I was very, very surprised at the title change. I thought one of the you figure maybe if Cole would have gotten pinned because of like a mistake that MJF did, which will cause further drama for the match later on. That's what I was thinking also.
I think that's too easy.
Yeah.
That was my only thing about it.
Yeah.
I think that was the angle that everyone was going. It's like, oh, you lost us the belts, and I'm gonna beat your ass. You know what I mean? Like, okay, sure, checks out. But I just thought it was like the easy way out. So I didn't think they were going to get there. I'm pretty sure they were going to win the straps.
Yeah, but again, kudos to both of those guys. They basically did double duty, you know what I mean? So we'll talk about that match later on, you know, in the episode. But the next match in 0 Hour was for the FTW Championship with an FTW rules match. Jack Perry, the champion, was defending against the former champ Hook. Obviously he pulled in a car, wherever it was. They had the overshot of outside of Wembley, wherever it was. He came in, and I think Jack Perry said something in reference to Mr. Punk that I think that, you know, it kind of riled him up a little bit, but something to do with glass or something like that, because I think something that
oh yeah, so apparently the back was that they had a production meeting, and Jack Perry said he wanted to do this spot with actual glass, and Punk was like, no, we use the sugar glass, we're not going to use real glass, and he was upset about that. So that's the rumor that I heard.
And Tony Schiavone also said the same thing to him, so it wasn't just Punk. You know what I mean? Like, and mind you, Tony Schiavone's been around this industry a very long time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, it's like, come on, like cooler heads got to prevail in that sense. Like, if you got a veteran telling you, hey, listen, I don't think this is a good idea because of, like, why would you want to risk your not only your career, but your health and your life using real glass? Like, something can easily go wrong.
You don't have to do it anymore. Back in the day, yes, they used thrift store tables. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to do that anymore. We can just we can fake it with a little bit of sugar and make it work. So I don't see what the issue is for sure. I think he just was being a dick to be a dick, but
yeah, true.
We see how that ended. We see how, you know what I mean?
Boy, yeah. But anyways,
overall, great match.
Yeah, it was a good match.
Overall, it was a great match. Unfortunately, like, everything is overshadowing that it was a great match. I can appreciate Hook. I love the fact that, see, my thing with Hook is that I don't necessarily always enjoy the undefeated storyline, because eventually you're gonna
lose. Right.
So now that he's kind of taking his L, we can kind of see the true growth in Hook now that we're not just chasing this undefeated thing. So, like, I'm happy for that. It was a great match. You could tell at the end, Hook is very like, I don't talk, I don't do emotion. At the end, when he was walking back, you can tell he wanted to cry.
Yeah, so but I mean, imagine being that young in your career and you're wrestling
in front of 80,000 people, and you got your dad's championship. It's a lot going on for sure. And I can appreciate the human aspect of him, like, holding back his tears. But you can tell, like, he was taking it all in and was like, this is a lot.
Indeed. Now on to the main card. Now, I was very surprised that this was the opening match. For the Real World Championship, the champion CM Punk defending against the ROH television champion Samoa Joe. Now, a lot of us old school fans know about the epic battle in October 2004 between these two men, and I really felt helped put Ring of Honor at that, because Ring of Honor was only 2 years old at that point, and it started to really get eyes on the product, you know, of Ring of Honor. That match set the table for that promotion. But, you know, they really did some cool spots. I know Punk did the John Cena 5 Moves of Doom spot into the Hogan leg drop. Samoa Joe kicks out at one, hulks up. It was very entertaining. But CM Punk did the Pepsi plunge, which he rarely uses, and pinned Samoa Joe to retain the Real World Championship. They built it up a little bit, because again, we were talking about it earlier in regards to, like, they didn't have time to really build any stories or whatever. But I think, you know, those two guys the story, the history sells itself. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They were talking smack back at each other. I know Punk attacked him, and he said, he accepted the challenge, and that was that. But nice match. The fans were solely behind Joe for a little while. Then they went back with Punk, and the whole deal. But hopefully, obviously, we've alluded to it. The fisticuffs that took place backstage after this. Before Punk came out, and it's unfortunate. They're talking about both those guys may not even be on this weekend's All Out pay-per-view. So let's see what happens, as they say.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird that you have 3 shows in Chicago without Punk. So I guess we'll see how this all plays out. But
Yeah.
speaking as an HR professional who I literally do investigations, the odds
Mhm.
of this being wrapped up with a nice bow by hell tomorrow, much less
Nah.
Sunday, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um, it's unfortunate the timing of it all. It's also unfortunate that here we are. You're 2 days from the major event. This overshadowed the actual All In, which was amazing, and now we're multiple days from the other event, and this is what we're talking about.
We're calling it. Remember, last year was Brawl Out. Now it's
All
Brawl In.
In.
Crazy. Next, we have the trios match with the Bullet Club Gold with Juice Robinson and Jay White, and Kinoshige Tashida, Don Callis, and the Ass Boys in their corner against the Golden Elite, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Hangman Adam Page. Some really stiff some stiff action in this match.
Mm-hmm.
Hard hitting. I mean, it was your typical. I mean, obviously when you got guys that's been in New Japan that wrestle that strong style, type of
At
style.
that level. Constantly.
Absolutely. So these guys have been there. They've been successful there. Obviously you're talking about two guys that were really three guys that were the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Obviously Jay White, Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi. So I mean, hey, those guys have been over there opposite, but Hangman, they've all wrestled New Japan. But I thought this was the right call, but the way the pin happened was just
I
out
was
of
just gonna waiting
nowhere.
for you. I was waiting for the match ended weird.
It did.
It didn't seem like it. Okay, so like I understand the matches end weird, right? Because we'll get to a match shortly on the card that also ended kind of weird. So like
Right.
that, it checks out for sure. But this just seemed like it ended not how it was supposed to. Obviously, we're not bookers, we're not in the backstage, we don't know what happened, but it just
Right.
didn't seem cohesive. Like it was like, oh, all right, it's over.
Yeah. It was like,
Go on,
really?
tell me more. Like you
Yeah.
know what I
It
mean? Like
was
it just didn't. It didn't. And I'm sure I don't know. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it was supposed to end that way. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
well, they
But it
were
just
harping
ended.
on commentary that, it was his pin on because he pinned Omega, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
he
and I
rolled him up.
think
Hmm.
right, I think that's what they wanted to go with, the fact that he did pin Kenny Omega, and they were harping on that, and I think that may have been the way that the creative was to really get that shine on him, to say the fact that he pinned him, in London. So, hey, but
I mean,
I guess
sure, but like weird, weird.
yeah, it was just we've seen matches like that was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Crazy. Next, which I thought was one of the matches of the night, was for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The champions FTR going against the Young Bucks, and there was so many near falls in this match. I mean, tag team action two of the best tag teams in the world right now. These two teams,
absolutely. It's the match that you always wanted, and you're
Mhm.
happy that finally happened. They delivered. The boys went out there and they put on an amazing show. But what else do you expect from a match from the Bucks and FTR? You know what I
Right?
mean? Like what you knew it was going to be a hard hitting, high intense match, and we got it, and it makes me happy. Um,
Just the
Hopefully we'll see it again because the ending
yeah.
of that match with the he didn't shake his hand, so it
They can
makes
say
me think that
yeah,
maybe
that was
we're
interesting.
gonna
That
run
was
it
interesting.
back
Yeah.
this weekend. I don't know. I got a feeling that we're gonna get some things ran back. I don't know what. But hopefully that's one of the matches they run back. We'll see.
Like just doing, you figure with the FTR doing the BTE trigger, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they were doing each other's moves, which I thought was a nice wrinkle, nice touch to it. But I mean, man, they beat the living hell out of each other. And I
Hmm.
mean, like I said, I wasn't expecting anything less, but man, they gave me so much more. and it was a beautiful match.
Mhm.
That I think that match went 21 minutes 45 seconds, and I will say that the majority of the matches was giving a lot of time. Obviously, we'll get to one match later on that didn't get a lot of time. We'll talk
For
about
sure.
that in a minute. But of course, this was the night. This is the part rather where shit hit the fan. It's Stadium Stampede, ladies and gentlemen. That's
Okay,
right.
so I have thoughts.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, I can appreciate putting on a Stadium Stampede match. So like I'm not taking that away from that. However, my issues with this match are you could tell that they had spots planned and the camera, they were cutting the spots too quickly. So like I couldn't follow what was happening because it was too much going on and they were cutting because I understand they're all in different areas,
Of the
but it just
stadium, right?
didn't, yes, it just didn't flow well between the cuts. Maybe they should have had a better job at doing picture in picture during that match, but it just seemed like they would rub up for a spot and they're like, all right, pull the camera. So like
Right,
it just
right.
had a lot going on. Obviously with Mox, you knew you were going to get some bleeding and all of that fun things.
Oh my! And
Um,
I tweeted that. I was like, "Oh, Mox is bleeding." But yeah,
so
in
I
this
just it's
match,
weird.
right? In this match, it was Eddie Kingston, Penta El Zero Miedo, best friend, and Orange Cassidy, um, against the Blackpool Combat Club, along with Mike Santana and Ortiz. And man, I tell you what, though, Orange Cassidy, that dude could take some punishment, man. I got to be honest
Oh
with
my
you.
goodness. Yeah. Like I thought he was gonna drop a while ago and he just keeps going because I'm like, this man needs a break. Like, let him drop. I think he's gonna eventually drop on Saturday or Sunday. That's different. We'll talk about that later. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think that like give this man a break. And I think that whoever takes the strap from him needs to be able to take the heat and take what's happening. So I think it will be Mox, but just Orange Cassidy's just a fucking worker, man. Like
Yeah, he is. He's really good.
even at the presser, he was sitting there, he's like, when they were like doing face to face, he's like, yeah, I'm tired. I need to sit back down now. Like I can't do
Yeah,
this right now. I'm tired.
that was a hell of a match. I mean, they literally beat the holy hell out of each other. Of course, you got the guy I call Tim's and Newport's Eddie Kingston, my man,
He
coming
got with his
down.
Ewing jersey. I was like, yes, show him,
Yeah,
bring him
but
home, baby, bring
but
him home.
he had he was crimson mask with his face, and he
Hmm.
had the barbed wire chair. I'm like, oh boy, reminded me last year when he had the gasoline ready to set Chris Jericho on fire.
Yes, he came down ready to go, and it just
Yeah,
didn't happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
Eddie. Yeah, listen, everybody, every roster needs a guy like Eddie Kingston, man. I really like Eddie because that's who what you see from what I know from workers in the biz, like who you see on TV is that's pretty much him in real
Oh
life.
yeah, everyone has said that. Like
Yeah,
he's not a like turn it on, turn it off type of guy. Like
yeah.
100% when he cuts a promo, it's him cutting a promo. Like it's not his character cutting a promo. It's
No, no, no,
100%
that's
like
Eddie.
that's
Yeah,
just how he's cut. Like if you catch him in a bodega on the corner, like he's gonna be the same.
yeah,
He ain't
absolutely.
faking it.
Nope, not. And you know what? Not gonna appreciate that.
Hmm.
This episode of the D-Lou podcast is brought to you by Goalie Nutrition. As someone who's used Goalie for quite some time, I can tell you that they're not only very good, but they're very beneficial. My favorite are the Super Green Gummies. The Super Green Gummies are uniquely crafted with a spectrum of essential nutrients such as vitamins A, B12, folic acid, and thiamine. It supports a healthy liver function, healthy nervous and immune system, digestive health, a boost to your metabolism, and overall health and well-being. There are no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors from artificial sources. They're vegan friendly, gluten free, and gelatin free. All loyal listeners of the D-Loop podcast get a special 10% discount at checkout. Go to goalie.com, use promo code DLEW. That's goalie.com, use promo code DLEW. But next, we have it was the four-way match for the AEW Women's World Championship. The champion Hikaru Shida defending against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, Tony Storm, and Saraya. Now, I will say this. That was really cool for Saraya. She coming out to Queens. We will rock you because they're in England. And she came out with her entire family. Ricky Knight, her dad, her mom, Saraya Knight, her two brothers, escorting her to the ring. I thought that was really, really cool. Nice touch. hometown girl coming back home. Tony Storm coming out to God Save the Queen. I thought that was cool. And of course, Siete and Britt Baker coming out. Britt Baker is respected by everybody. But this match only got 8 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yep. It was a very quick match for it to be a fatal 4-way, especially because I think it's one of those matches where we all knew who was going over.
I mean, I wanted Saraya to go over. I mean, I'm in the minority. I'm in the minority with that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it. Like, I understand why she went over. It checks out. It makes sense. It just, the ending sets me up for, hopefully we're gonna run it back. I hate the way that the way they have these weird endings with when the women's belt changes hands. They had the weird ending we talked about when I was on the show last time with Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm, and now you get another weird ending. It's weird booking, and also honestly upsets me that we had this iconic show and we only had one women's match, and the one women's match that you put on it, you only have on for 8 minutes and 50 seconds. And like, I understand the rumors where they were trying to pay homage to the OG where they only have the one women's match, but like, no, do not gaslight me. Like, I'm truly kind of upset that they had had one match. As a women's wrestling fan and as a woman, like, it kind of upsets me. And then you got a quick match.
That was I will say the spot of the night, the spot of the match though, was when
curb stomp.
not only the curb stomp, when Tony Storm accidentally hit Saraya Knight and she was ready to hop the rail. I said, that is a scary woman. Listen, she was pregnant with Paige when she was wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
She was wrestling when she was pregnant. I said, that is a tough woman. Mm-hmm. I said, I wouldn't mess with her now. No. She will bite you. Like, seriously.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But I forgot to highlight this though. Throughout the entire event, they kept showing Mercedes Moné in the crowd. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And, they brought her over as a special guest and she was sitting in the crowd. I thought that was interesting. I was thinking, maybe with the history that her and Saraya have, hopefully when she is cleared, and Tony Khan made it very, very clear, she is not cleared to wrestle. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's a picture going around where it's the full picture where she's still in her boot.
Yeah. So I mean, Tony Khan made it clear, like, no, she was just a guest and she is not cleared to wrestle. But again, to your, the story does, tell itself. Maybe if Saraya is champion by the time she is cleared and able to sign her, maybe, but we'll see. But again, Saraya does win the AEW the Women's World Championship. Considering this woman her career was over. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Her career was over due to a nasty injury. There were some things online, obviously, that, the drama she was going through with that, which I felt extremely sorry for her. I really, really did. And the fact that she was able to overcome all of that and, defeat the odds and come back strong and be back where she should be. Again, that was the only reason I was pulling for her. But nonetheless, again, congratulatory in order to the brand new AEW Women's World Champion, Saraya. Now, next match, which this was comical. The coffin match with Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage, with Chris Nana doing his dance. Gotta love it. Shout out to Chris Nana. I had an opportunity to meet. We're friends on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I had an opportunity to meet him last year in December at the seminar that I went to in Toms River, for a lot of people that are in the business. And he and I had an opportunity to really just chop it up, really, to finally get a face to a, to a name,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And he was just so uplifting and so positive, and he just told me to keep doing what I'm doing. So, huge shout out to Prince. I was so glad to see Prince Nana on a show like this, a guy that's been paying his dues for years. But again, they faced Darby Allin and Sting, and oh my God, I popped huge. They had him coming out to Seek and Destroy by Metallica. I said, oh my God, that was so cool. That was so cool. For those that know or don't know,
one thing Tony gonna do is he's gonna pay for a song. He gonna pay for some
absolutely. That was Sting's theme in WCW in the late 90s and early 2000s. That was his theme in WCW. except that version that Sting was coming out to in WCW was actually a live version from I believe it was Woodstock, I believe, that Metallica actually did. But nonetheless, when I heard the first guitar riff, I'm like, oh man, that was it was amazing. Pretty, really, really cool. But some scary spots. My God, Darby Allin, that man's bones must be made of solid steel, man. Because he was doing all those spots with no arms. Literally, no arms. Because they tied his arms up with, I guess, electrical tape or whatever it was. And he's literally just throwing himself, caution to the wind, everything, and outside the ring, suicide dives. I'm like, man. But Sting was 64, 65 years old, still doing Sting things. You know what I mean? You can't help but love it. But I thought the cool spot was when Swerve put him in the coffin, and he had his bat, and he put the bat in between the lid, and he wasn't able to close it, but Sting does the Scorpion Death Drop, and Darby does the coffin drop and puts him in. Sean Ross Sapp, huge shout out to Sean Ross Sapp. He's at the match. He's like, they got to run it back. Swerve's braids are still out.
I don't hate it.
Yeah,
I mean, you knew what the match was going to be when they booked it, and I'm just excited that Swerve got that moment. Like Darby gets his moment, Sting always gets his moment. I'm just very happy that a young black man got his moment.
Absolutely. And hey man, listen, Christian Cage, that man's wrestling in a sleeveless turtleneck.
Yo, I don't know what's happening, but yes, he was.
Oh my God. It's just like when you talk about over the top ridiculousness, crazy, unbelievable. Next, we have a match that was really good. It was solid. Will Ospreay with Don Callis against Chris Jericho with Sammy Guevara. Obviously, Chris coming out to sing it. He literally
Himself.
had Fozzy. Yeah, he had Fozzy on the top of the aisleway. The band set up, and they played Judas to the ring, which is really cool because Fozzy did a show, I think that Friday night in England. And he had got on the mic, and he was dedicating the whole weekend to a Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt, and it was cool to hear, because I've heard Judas live when I saw Fozzy last year when they came to where I live, and I got a chance to see Fozzy live. Actually, Jericho's a showman, really, really good. So it was really cool to hear a live version of Judas, and man, hard hitting match. Just a solid match, and you can tell because that what Jericho told Will Ospreay was true. When he was just telling him to slow down. This is a few years ago. And obviously, and you can just tell that he's listening to a lot of veterans now, because I think Will Ospreay in January is going to be one of the most sought after talents in the business. I
don't think he's going anywhere, though.
You think he's going to stay in New Japan?
I think so. I mean, he's made it very clear he doesn't want to live in the States. He said it multiple times.
Yeah, but you know what though? It's nice to be courted.
It's nice to be wanted and run the checkup. So if everyone's giving you these offers, you can go back to AEW and say, "Hey, listen, they're offering me this. What you got for me?" So get your money, young man. I'm always for that.
Get your money, bro.
I'm not sure he's gonna go anywhere.
Get your money, bro. Come on, bro. But no, Ospreay does hit his finisher on Jericho and gets the win. And it was, Jericho's Teflon. I mean, at the end of the day, a loss is
Jericho.
It's Jericho, right? Right. But it's interesting to see what's going to happen, because obviously Sammy was trying to help him, and Jericho was putting on the whole he was disappointed in himself and everything, and he just leaves him in the ring, and that's how that match ends. Next up, we have the trios match for the trios championship with the House of Black, the champions, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, going up against the Acclaimed, not daddy ass, but badass Billy Gunn. Nice touch, with Buddy holding up the lantern to honor Bray Wyatt. Obviously, when they turned out the house lights, by this time it was really dark outside, and they had the fireflies, and I'm just like, man, that was nice. That was nice scenery there, and again, it wasn't supposed to be a technically sound match. It was,
100%. It was supposed to do a job, and it did its job.
But I think too, that was the get ready for the main event, because when you have a match like that, and I'm not taking anything away from these 6 guys, because they are really, really talented, but you figure this match is only 10 minutes, 50 seconds, go out there, hit some spots, do the deal, and, send, make the crowd happy, You do the big scissor thing in the end, and yes, we do have brand new AEW World Trios champions. Daddy Ass hitting the Famouser, and there you have it. I like the fact that I think he can use Badass Billy Gunn because he spells bad with 2 D's, not 1 D. So for those,
hopefully, that match is a setup for him putting his sons over, and then the boys taking the Guns, or Bullet Club Gold taking the trios title. I hope that's where they're going with that. Because we
I
all
can
know
see
that
it.
Billy Gunn was kind of hanging out to make sure his boys were good, and so I hope
Agreed.
that's where that storyline is going. That eventually down the road in the next month or so, because I know Billy Gunn probably does actually want to retire. That he gets to put his boys over one good time before he walks away.
I tell you this, excuse my language, that fucking guy is in incredible shape for over 60 years old. I mean, literally,
Absolutely.
like this dude, I mean,
he looks good.
Yeah.
Compare him to Sting, respectfully. Compare him to Sting. You know what I mean?
But Billy is a gym rat, and I mean, he literally looks incredible. Like, I put it to you this way: if he wanted to do it full time, I'm pretty sure he can get a world championship run if he really wanted to.
If he wanted it, for sure.
If he really wanted to, but I think he's in a place in his career where he's backstage, he's producer, he's agent.
I mean, look at Colt. Like, he's jacked and ripped like his dad. I'm sure his dad trains him or helps train him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
He's just, I mean, again, respectfully, look at him compared to someone like Sting. Look at him compared to like all the other older gentlemen from like our time. Like,
right.
Gunn still can go.
Indeed. And it is now time for the main event. For the AEW World Championship. They are the tag team champions of Ring of Honor. It's MJF going up against Adam Cole. MJF had a really cool entrance, being
it's very Triple H-esque.
Very, very, very.
I like it. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, Triple H inspires everyone. So that's no shade. Sure. That is no shade whatsoever. But I'm just saying it's very Triple H-esque.
Agreed. And it was and I think in the early part of the match, they both put on their "I'm better than you, baby" t-shirts, which is a nice wrinkle.
Sign of respect, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they rent tons of spots throughout the match. I mean, they really, and I think it got to the point where it's like, well, who could trust who? And they were starting to run those type of spots in the match. And of course, they pin each other. And I'm just like, wait a minute. And I thought this was going to be the part where Punk comes out to chat. Like, no, there's not going to be a draw because I'm still the real world champion. That's where I thought they were going. But no, Adam Cole said 5 minutes, 5 more minutes. And MJF was like, no. We're not doing 5 minutes.
We're finishing this tonight.
We're finishing this tonight in Wembley. And they did. And of course, you had some interference with Roddy Strong. I don't know where they're going with this. I was thinking, is this where MJF turn? You know what I mean? Like, it's so much going on at one time. I'm just like, where are they going? And
I didn't think they would have a turn at this particular show. I think that it's so good right now. I think it'd be foolish to cut it right now.
Right.
Obviously, we're gonna get a turn because
but we don't know, and that's cool. We're all in the dark. But we don't know
exactly, and I'd be a fan, enjoy it. But I did not think that the turn was going to happen at Wembley, especially with them having the belts. We need to get. Like I said, I truly think that Roddy's going to come for that tag team title, and that's going to be a huge factor. It was definitely a great match. Like, MJF puts on an amazing show, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's MJF. He really can't wrestle. He's a heel." Like, MJF has shown you that he can go with the best. He can go with Daniel Bryan. He can go with whomever you throw him in the ring with. He can go. So just kudos to MJF for always putting on a match. I actually like babyface MJF.
It's different.
Weird as that sounds. It's different.
It's different. Listen, people say, he can't wrestle. First of all, he got trained at Creative Pro, just to kind of get behind the curtain a little bit. For those that know or don't know, Creative Pro is in New York, and I think either Queens or Long Island, New York. I believe Brian Myers was one of the head trainers there, and there's a lot of talent that's come out of Creative Pro. I mean,
shout out to Chris Statlander. She's the first woman to come out of Creative Pro.
Absolutely. Caster and a lot of those guys. There's a lot of Creative Pro that's in AEW. So I mean, MJF can go, and I mean, he's definitely put on some muscle mass, and he's really looking.
Oh yeah, he's cut. He is definitely.
So hey, I'm glad that he's going about it, and hopefully we'll see what happens. I mean, if he's ultimately going to be a babyface, then hey, man, I'm all for it. Whatever they want to do to make him the face of the company, then go ahead, do it. It's going to cost them. But hey, if you want your homegrown, if he's truly a pillar of AEW, pay the man. If they pay the Elite and Kenny and those guys and Hangman, then I think they could pay MJF as well. So, but again, MJF does win with an inside cradle to retain the AEW World Championship. And of course, Adam Cole's all mad and upset, and he's pushing. I think he threw the tag belt out of the ring, and the fans are chanting, "Hug it out, hug it out, hug it out," and they do indeed hug it out. Of course, there's confetti going out. They're both hitting the pose on the corners of the ring, but of course, you see the Kingdom coming down. Just watching. So I'm just thinking, I wonder what's going to happen. So. I guess we got to stay tuned for tomorrow night's AEW Dynamite. But like I said, what a night. I mean, it was first of all, to watch a pay-per-view in the afternoon for
on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, man. It was like, damn, it's 5:00 in the afternoon. Oh, I can actually do stuff. It's almost
I can actually do things now.
It's incredible.
Like the Sunday night when you're like, I have to go to work in the morning. Can y'all wrap this up?
Right. So here's the thing. So now that we're a few days away from All Out, the only matches that are signed so far are the following. For the TNT Championship, it's Darby Allin challenging Luchasaurus, but really the guy that wears the belt is Christian Cage. You have a singles match. It's Powerhouse Hobbs versus Miro. For the TBS Championship, it's Chris Statlander versus Ruby Soho. For the International Championship, it's Penta El Zero Miedo versus John Moxley versus the champion Orange Cassidy. And of course, you have Konosuke Kashida going up against Kenny Omega. So those are only 5 matches that have been signed so far for this Saturday's All Out. To be honest with you, this Sunday, I'm sorry. Yeah, because Saturday is payback for WWE. But I gotta tell you, I don't see Luchasaurus losing that TNT title anytime soon. I just can't see it. I could be totally wrong about it. With Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs, it was just a match that seemed like it was just thrown together.
100%. There's no story behind it. There's nothing behind it. We haven't even seen Miro. We saw Miro twice on Collision.
Right. And then the Chris Statlander Ruby Soho match. Okay, I get it. Maybe Ruby Soho can win the title and get, obviously they'll have 2 champions in the Outcast, and maybe they can kind of patch things up. Then, for the International Championship, I can't see Mox winning that championship. That's just me. I think Orange Cassidy pins Penta.
Oh, no, that's not the match. The winner of... So, Penta goes against Cassidy tomorrow night, and the winner of that
that's
person goes against
Oh,
Moxley.
yeah, I read it wrong. Right. So, then that's going to be really interesting. Then maybe John Moxley does win it on Saturday. Because I think so. Yeah, Moxley will probably win it on Saturday. And with this match with Omega and Tashkida, maybe Kenny gets one back. Now it's a singles match. He gets one back, but who knows?
Sure. We'll see. I don't know how that's going to go yet. I need to see how that plays out.
Right. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on. With AEW. Again, I don't want to talk about the negative stuff, but I think the fact that they did over a $10 million gate at Wembley. You know what I mean? That is incredible. They already announced that All In is going to be back in Wembley next year in 2024, August 25th, I believe, 2024 for All In back at Wembley. So, the fact that they were able to do, $10 million, this very young company, doing that now that there's going to be, people know what this event is. And now the tickets are probably going to go even faster now because
absolutely.
Yep. So you book it, they will come. You promote it, they will come. So at the end of the day, I just hope that whatever it is that's going on backstage. And another thing, I got to say this too. Now, granted, I do have contemporaries that are in the journalism space, and kudos to a lot of them that are doing it the right way. But there's just certain things that fans just should not know, in my opinion.
Agreed. And that's where it goes into So my background, I have my bachelor's is in journalism. I do not write anymore, but I know how to write. I know how to navigate the space. Everyone with a microphone and an iPhone is not a journalist. Simple as that. And it's unfortunate that everyone thinks that they are a journalist. Just because you're a blogger, and again, you have this microphone in front of you, does not make you a journalist. There are rules to journalism. There are certain things that we do not talk about. There are certain things that we do not cover, for various reasons. And it makes me upset when you have someone who claims to be this journalist and they're not. I mean, I give credit to Sean Ross Sapp where he's like, oh no, not a journalist. I'm a fan. I got it. You know what I mean? Like he will
he goes out there
clarify you and like, oh no, I'm not a journalist.
But a trusted source, but he is a very trusted source because he does.
And the reason why he gets so much trust, and personally for me, is that when he's wrong, he says he's wrong.
Agreed.
Whereas Metzler's like, oh well, my bad, I got a bad source. That's what they told me. I don't know what to tell you. That's what they told me.
No, but wrong. Meltzer makes up a lot. Let's keep it real. Meltzer makes up a lot of stuff.
He just throws things in the dark and sees what sticks.
Absolutely. He's been doing that for almost 50 years. So I mean,
absolutely. But then again, like I said, that's my issue with him is that like he just throws shit out and sees what sticks. Where again, when Ross is wrong, he's like, yo, my bad. I was wrong. Here's a retraction. Here's what's going on.
Right. Like fans were going after Denise Salcedo the other day because she asked the Big Show about, Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? And I know, like I've met Denise, and I don't think she meant any ill intent at all. But somebody,
I have thoughts on that. So everyone knows that the Big Show is an emotional gentleman. Nothing's wrong with that. I love a good emotional man. Show me those tears. Show me be vulnerable. What soundbite was she truly trying to get from freaking Big Show? What was the point of it? So journalists, you ask questions for a reason. What was the point of asking Big Show about it? What were you thinking? What were you going to get out of that? What like amazing clip were you going to run with from asking respectfully Big Show, who has not wrestled in a long time, who is not the face of anything? He's behind the scenes. What did you think you were getting out of it? That is my issue with that. And I understand she is quote unquote a journalist and she has to ask these questions. But again, what was the point of that? And if she wanted to talk to him about it, what she should have done was asked him off camera and then quoted him in a story. Because again, it just happened less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah,
it's still fresh for everyone. There are ways to, again, if you're a true journalist, you would know there are ways to respectfully cover these things. And she did not do that, unfortunately. So do I want to see someone get torn down like she was getting torn down? Absolutely not, especially as a woman in the wrestling space. I will never condone that. However, a true journalist would have navigated that differently. And that goes to our rant about journalism and wrestling. Who's journalist and who's not.
Indeed. And again, and for all intents and purposes, again, I'm not a journalist. I'm just the host of the D-Loop podcast.
Oh no, for sure. I wasn't taking shots at anybody.
Yeah. And I'm just but I let people know, like I'm not a wrestler, I'm not a journalist, or whatever the case may be. But like I was just very fortunate to, for the one time got, opportunity to cover WrestleMania for my podcast. And it was great. It was a great experience, and getting to talk to guys like Chris Van Vliet and getting to talk to people like Issa, Demon Diva, or Sean Ross Sapp, or Ariel Helwani, the world famous Ariel Helwani, who I've been following for 13 years, ever since his days when he started the MMA Hour on AOL. Like I was following him back then. So and Keith Elliott Greenberg, you know what I mean? Like the list goes on and on of people that, I got a chance to rub shoulders with and just really kind of talk with and pick their brains. It was an honor, but I make it very clear. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a podcast host that I cover everything, whether it's wrestling or music or, film and TV, whatever the case. But obviously my heart and soul is with pro wrestling. Thus, I have you on this show with me. And I definitely appreciate what you do. But before we get out of here, just tell the people once again where they can find you on social media and everything in between, or any other podcast you belong to.
All right. So you guys can find me on all social media at HIIGABII. Hi, Gabi. I am not tied down to any podcast just yet, but stay tuned. You never know.
Okay. Well, again, we're gonna get out of here now, but thank you so much for giving us your time once again, and I'm pretty sure we'll be covering some events soon down the road for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that does it for this week's edition of the D-Loop Podcast. Once again, I want to thank Gabi for joining me to go over an historic AEW All In pay-per-view, and I hope to have her back on soon for covering more shows, that's for sure. Well, this podcast, again, doesn't happen without you all. And if this is your first time listening to this show, first off, I want to say thank you for tuning in for the very first time. But even if it's not your first time, and if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button regardless of which platform you're on. If it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, wherever you can get podcasts, even Pandora. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so whenever there's new content from the D-Loop Podcast, you get it instantaneously, okay? Go to my store, all right? There's a new tease that just dropped, shop.derricklewis.com. You can actually get the new Espacion t-shirt that's live and in living color on shop.derricklewis.com. You can follow me on all social media, Threads, the X app, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Spill app, Mastodon, Hive, TikTok, at The Real DT Lew, Facebook, okay, Derrick T. Lewis official page. You can also go to my YouTube channel. You can look me up under Derrick T. Lewis or The Real DT Lew. You'll get there. You'll be able to see all of my music videos, acting reels, etc., etc. Everything me, everything Derrick T. Lewis is on my YouTube channel. Now, once again, as I said at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it again, Espacion, the song, is out on all platforms. Make sure you get it. In addition to, like I said, the music video is dropping on September 5th, the day after Labor Day. So get your eat on, whatever, on Labor Day, cookouts, yada yada. Tuesday morning, all new video, brand new video. I'm so excited for this project and where it's going to go. Well, I'm going to get out of here. And just remember, as I always say, no matter what you do in life, always remember to make it count. See you next time.
Myrtle Beach is the beach. 60 miles of bright sand, water, and a wealth of wonderful music playing day and night. You can step into a simple beach bar and discover a surprising level of exciting musical talent. A place to kick back and groove to the enticing soundtrack of the most unexpected vacations around. With nothing but good vibes floating through the warm ocean air. Plan your own music-filled trip to America's Jukebox at visitmyrtlebeach.com.